Samsy. Hey guys, we got story time with kitties. And we're coming to you from newly declared Frododio land. Frodo has declared all spaces are his. Today's story, Journey to the Center of the Earth, Chapter 8, Part 2. Now, when I left this thing off, Harry and Professor Hardway and the eider down hunter were all gathering their supplies together to get ready to descend into the center of the earth. So they was going through their supplies, and they're just going to list them out here. So that's where we were at, and we will pick it up there. Number 2, a manometer, which worked by compressed air, an instrument used to ascertain the upper atmospheric pressure on the level of the ocean. Perhaps a common barometer would not have done as well, the atmospheric pressure being likely to increase in proportion as we descended below the surface of the earth. Number 3, a first-class chronometer made by Boissonans of Geneva. You have to check on that pronunciation. There can be no possible way that is correct. Set at the meridian of Hamburg, from which Germans calculate, as the English do from Greenwich, and the French from Paris. 2 compasses, one for horizontal guidance, the other to ascertain the dip, a night glass, 2 Ruhmkorff coils, which by means of a current of electricity would ensure us a very excellent, easily carried, and certain means of obtaining light. A voltaic battery on the newest principle. Our arms consisted of 2 rifles, 2 revolving 6-shooters. Why these arms were provided, it was impossible for me to say. I had every reason to believe that we had neither wild beasts nor savage natives to fear. My uncle, on the other hand, was quite as devoted to his arsenal as to his collection of instruments, and, above all, was very careful with his provision of fulminating gun. Oh yeah, okay. Very careful with his provision of fulminating or gun cotton, warranted to keep in any climate, and of which the expansive force was known to be greater than that of ordinary gunpowder. Yeah, Frodo, he's just like, mine. This leaf is mine. This is all mine. Mine. We'll see what happens when he gets just a little bit bigger and the other male cats, the big ones, decide to give him a little notice. Our tools consisted of 2 pickaxes, 2 crowbars, a silken ladder, 3 iron-shod alpine poles, a hatchet, a hammer, a dozen wedges, some pointed pieces of iron, and a quantity of strong rope. You may conceive that the whole made a tolerable parcel, especially when I mentioned that the ladder itself was 300 feet long. Then there came the important question of provisions. The hamper was not very large, but tolerably satisfactory, for I knew that in concentrated essence of meat and biscuit there was enough to last 6 months. The only liquid provided by my uncle was shadam of water. Oh, no. Well, the only liquid provided by my uncle was shadam of water, not a drop. We had, however, an ample supply of gourds, and my uncle counted on finding water, and enough to fill them as soon as we commenced our journey downward. My remarks as to the temperature, the quality, and even as to the possibility of none being found remained wholly without effect. To make up the exact list of our traveling gear for the guidance of future travelers, I will add that we carried a medicine, a surgical chest with all apparatus necessary for wounds, fractures, and blows, lint, scissors, lancets, in fact, a perfect collection of horrible-looking instruments, a number of vials containing ammonia, alcohol, ether, Gourlard water, Gourlard water, I don't know what that is, aromatic vinegar, in fact, every possible and impossible drug. Finally, all the materials for working the room core coil. My uncle had been careful to lay in a goodly supply of tobacco, several flasks of very fine gunpowder, boxes of tinder, besides a large belt crammed full of notes and gold. Good boots, rendered watertight, were to be found, to the number of 6 in the toolbox. My boy, with such clothing, with such boots, and such general equipments, said my uncle in a state of rapturous delight, we may hope to travel far. It took a whole day to put all of these matters in order. In the evening, we dined with Baron Trampe, in company with the mayor of Reykjavik and Dr. Hyathtalin, the great medical man of Iceland. M. Fredrickson was not present, and I was afterwards sorry to hear that he and the governor did not agree on some matters connected with the administration of the island. Unfortunately, the consequence was that I did not understand a word that was said at dinner, a kind of semi-official reception. One thing I can say, my uncle never left off speaking. The next day, our labor came to an end. Our worldly host delighted my uncle, Professor Hardwick, by giving him a good map of Iceland, a most important and precious document for a mineralogist. Our last evening was spent in a long conversation with M. Fredrickson, whom I liked very much, the more that I never expected it to see him or anyone else ever again. After this agreeable way of spending an hour or so, I tried to sleep. In vain. With the exception of a few dozes, my night was miserable. All right, let's just knock it off right there. Let's just put a pin in it right there. Thanks so much for watching. And the next time we'll move on we get a little bit more. We almost finished off this chapter finally. All right, guys. See. And we'll give you just a few seconds of big old Rosie, 'cause that makes me feel good right there. You go, big girl. You go, big girl.